Breaking news? What do we have?
According to Adam Schefter, the Miami Dolphins are placing quarterback Tua Tagovailoa on injured reserve.
Oh, all right. Well, it's going to be out longer than I thought. I thought he missed a week or two.
Be
What's
out
that
a
mean,
minimum
Solana? 6 weeks?
4 games.
4 weeks.
A minimum of 4 games. Not weeks. Not weeks. Because the Dolphins do have a bye week mixed in here. They play 3, bye, and then they get their 4th game. It's not a minimum of 4 weeks. It's a minimum of 4 games.
All right. So now you got to go out and get the Pasternaut.
I didn't think that when he said that.
First place my mind went.
Are we so to that new revelation? We're good, Skylar and Tyler.
I mean, yeah, for 4 weeks. What else are you going to do?
The damn Pasternaut. You just said it.
Well,
like it's not the Pasternaut. If it's Josh Dobbs, if it's Bryce Young, if it's just, do we need to be concerned with the quarterback position, trades, and all of that?
You'd have to explain this to me, Solana, because I don't understand how it works. They took Tyler Huntley off Baltimore's practice squad, right?
Correct.
So that means they have to sign him to a contract and give him a roster spot. You can't pick someone off someone else's practice squad, put him on yours.
Correct.
So how long does he have to have a roster spot?
Yeah, I would have to do a little bit of research.
Yeah,
I'm not
I don't
certain
know what the ramifications are. That's what I just don't understand it enough.
But it's not going to. If they're not paying Tyler Huntley $17 million, he probably came in for $1 million. They can cut him and just pay his contract out.
I got you. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like whatever that number is, they could pay that out. Do we need to go look into the quarterback pool? Like,
well, if you need a stopgap, say for a season, why not consider Russell Wilson?
I haven't seen him play this year, to be honest.
Yeah, but you saw him play at the end of last season. He looked good at the end of last season.
Just get him for the rest of this year. Now Russell's the backup. So it's Tua, Russell, and I don't know how the rest of it's going to go. So Tua, Russell.
I mean, Russell Wilson's better than Skylar Thompson or Tyler Huntley.
He didn't look like it in Denver.
He started to.
Later in the year. Honestly, I don't like it. I would like the Pasternaut over Russell.
You don't have to twist my arm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I would want a young, agile guy. I want somebody that can run. That's why if Skylar, and I do believe they're going to start doing this, putting more athletic looking plays in for the quarterback, because I've seen Skylar. I think Skylar's more athletic than Tua. I want a more athletic quarterback because I see now in the league what those guys are doing. Watching Kyler Murray, watching those guys run around, watching Jalen Hurt willed them back into the game last night with his legs. I would love to have that on the Dolphins.
I just don't like. I mean, I'm cool with the Pasternaut, but I don't know how realistic that is. We keep using him as a potential trade piece. Hoch, I'm being honest. I don't know if you're just trolling because you love the Pasternaut or you legitimately want the Dolphins to go get him. Like, how likely is that? He's their backup. He's the Niners' backup.
No. He's their third stringer.
He's their third stringer?
Yeah, because isn't it? It's Brock Purdy and then who?
Brandon Allen. You are right. Yeah.
So he's like, I think they'd be happy to trade, like to get anything for him. I think they'd be happy to trade him.
But you're going after a team's third stringer?
Hey, you're talking about signing practice squad guys.
Solana, like I understand what you said, but it's the situation you're in right now.
Right.
But to that point, we're going to sign
maybe Tyler. I mean, maybe Skylar. Maybe we reserve judgment till we see them play on Sunday.
Yes. And see what this offense looks like with them. I don't want them to run. I would be mad if Skylar Thompson runs Tua's offense because I think they're two different players.
Well, I'll be angry if they don't run a pretty similar version of Tua's offense because then why is he your backup? If you have a backup that has to run a completely different style of offense, then you made the poor choice.
You got to add a wrinkle with him.
Sure. That's fine.
But
But
I
it
still
can't
want,
be. I don't want to see something completely different. I want to see Mike McDaniel's offense.
oh no, those deep, the Tyreek deep crossers that he scored on the 80-yard touchdown was one of them deep crossers. Skyler has to be able to throw those. The bang eights when Tyreek goes in motion and just runs a little circle, and as soon as the safety, as soon as he gets past the corner, he throws right behind him. Like, they have to practice that as well, but also give him another wrinkle because you have a younger quarterback that's more agile. This is all on Mike McDaniel right now.
Let me give you the stock market report here, which is what we always do at 4 o'clock. Stock market report brought to you by Kendall Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, home of the $21,000 discount. Kendall Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram.com. Not much action on Wall Street. Dow Jones down 15 points. S&P 500 up 1.5 points. NASDAQ up 35 points. Everybody's just waiting to see tomorrow. Tomorrow, the Fed announces whether they are lowering interest rates. Tomorrow's the big day on Wall Street. Will they lower interest rates by a 1/4 point or a 1/2 point? That's pretty much the question. Everyone knows that they're going to lower it tomorrow. Will it be a 1/4 point or 1/2 point? All right, let's get back into the breaking news here then. We'll do headlines with Alejandro Solana. It's brought to you by Doral Volkswagen. At Doral Volkswagen, choose from over 300 new Volkswagen models in stock, like the Tiguan, Taos, and Atlas. And remember, when it comes to Volkswagen, the great deals are at Doral Volkswagen.
So here's the Dolphins' schedule. They have Seattle in Seattle this Sunday. Next week, they play Monday Night Football, hosting Tennessee. Tennessee's 0-2. They're at New England October 6th. That's week 5. So that's 3 games. Then you have a bye week. Then you come back week 7, Sunday, October 20th, at Indianapolis. They're 0-2 as well right now. The first game, Tua Tagovailoa would be eligible to return, would be week 8, October 27th, versus Arizona at Hard Rock Stadium. But I will remind everybody, there is no timetable set for his return. IR means he has to miss at least 4 games, but we don't have any timetable. He's meeting reportedly with concussion specialists and doctors this week.
And as Jeff Darlington points out on Twitter, for at least the next month, Tua will have the opportunity to seek continued medical advice while also healing from his latest concussion without the weekly wonders about his status. So this is probably a pretty beneficial way of saying to Tua, you know what? You got 4 games now. You got over a month. You'll figure things out with your family, the neurologists, whoever you consult with. And there doesn't have to be this question, will he play this week? Will he play next week? Like we've taken all that off the table for over a month. Go figure out what's right for you.
5 weeks of conversation, 5 weeks of staring at the ceiling at night, really thinking about it. And then after that, we'll see what happens. But
yeah.
I'm still uncomfortable. I'm not going to lie.
Crowder, you were saying yesterday the Dolphins need to have a better contingency plan for Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, why wait? Honestly, like, why wait? I know you guys don't want to talk
Cam
about
Ward.
Hoch, tell Cam to stop throwing all these damn touchdowns so he can slip to the second round. So
he ain't slipping to the second round, man. He ain't slipping to the second round.
No, I would like a contingency plan. Knock on every damn wood we have. There's a chance now of this happening at any moment, any season, Tua is the quarterback. And that's scary. And you just talked about the schedule. What is it? Arizona, Indianapolis, Seattle, Tennessee. Those aren't tough teams. So I think it's the best time to have this happen. But what if this was Buffalo, KC, Eagles, somebody else? You know what I'm saying? Like, if as a Dolphin fan, to get our schedule and get our stuff right, we've already talked about on the show, the end of the season, the last 6-7 games are hell. So we need to get some wins early, and we have to figure that out. Hawk. Like,
what are they? 1-1 now?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're 1-1. Let's say it goes south over the next 4 games, and they're 1-5. And he's eligible to come back. You're kind of making the decision for him. Hey, this is a lost season. take the rest of the season off. Let's reconvene. You know what I mean? Like now they go 2-2, 3-1. You have a different conversation. If they go 1-3 or 0-4, you kind of don't need them to come back.
But now you just punt on the season. It can't be that. That's the contingency plan, Hawk. To that point, if we're 1-4, there's no reason for Tua to play. We need somebody that can keep us not 1-4. And if that's Skyler,
I agree,
Hawk,
but
I hope Seattle proves us wrong and Skyler goes and throws for 308, 3 touchdowns. Like I hope it happens. But the contingency plan, I don't know if we really thought about that.
Well, they didn't.
I mean, listen, he was healthy for 17 games last season. Very few teams have a contingency plan that you don't miss a beat if the starting quarterback goes down. I mean, that's just the reality of it.
But Carolina feels better than we do. And we said we feel better with Andy Dalton.
Do they? First of all, they're starting from a worse spot than we are. So, like, I'm not certain that one's fair. Maybe look at Pittsburgh.
They feel better than we do.
Couple of mediocre quarterbacks, though. Like, wouldn't you rather have one really good quarterback and then a significant drop off and hope the really good quarterback doesn't get hurt?
And I think the thing is, we haven't seen enough of Skyler to say that he's Andy Dalton or to say that he's an old Russell Wilson. So that's what we have to prove. If Skyler goes out here and goes crazy against Seattle, this conversation is null and void, but we haven't seen it out of Skyler yet.
But Hawk, I would just push back on what you're saying a little bit. I realize Tua went a full season healthy last year. And that's the facts. Like he set that precedent last year where there is a measuring stick for how he can stay healthy. And he deviated from that. Mm-hmm. But the reality is, and it's something that I had brought up several times and was kind of just shut down because he stayed healthy for a full season. The Dolphins knew his past history, not just with concussions, but injuries in general. And to me, not investing in the offensive line, not making that a priority when you have a quarterback, aside from concussion histories already, with an injury history.
On that. I'm with you on that.
How many teams around the NFL, despite having a franchise quarterback, continue to at least take flyers on quarterbacks in the draft? Not 7th-round picks, but second,
but you have a young quarterback that you took a flyer on.
But Hawk, he has an injury history. But the Packers had Brett Favre.
How many quarterbacks can you have on a roster? You had Mike White and Skyler and Tua going into the season. Like you're going to take a flyer on another?
But I'm just showing you examples of the Packers having Brett Favre. They went out and they drafted a couple years before it was obvious Brett Favre was going to have to retire. They took a young quarterback to develop him. Then they did
10 years.
They did the exact same thing with Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love. The exact same thing. The Dolphins should have seen, at least prepared for this, rather than taking a guy.
But I would submit to you that they will tell you they did prepare. That we had Skylar Thompson and Mike White. We were comfortable with both of them as the backups. And we chose Skylar to be the backup. I mean, they're not getting caught flat-footed. I mean, he's the backup. He's been here, 3 seasons now? 4 seasons?
Yeah, 3 seasons.
And not even speak about that with the building. It goes back. Honestly, I thought about Dave Hyde. You read Dave Hyde's article yesterday. Mm-hmm. With the O-line, you brought up Teron Armstead. They tried with Austin Jackson. Then they let go of Robert Hunt. Then they brought in Connor Williams. Then he got hurt. And they were trying to add those pieces. I'm just thinking about a game last night with the Eagles and the Falcons where Jalen Hurts was running around like he was playing backyard football. And then in that last drive, Kirk Cousins has no pressure at all on him. It was one of the problems. I don't remember Tua sitting back there for 6 seconds because we solidified that line so much. Did they have to skimp on the line because of Tyreek and Jalen Waddle and Jalen Ramsey? They still have to pay Javon Holland. They still have to pay Jalen Phillips now. They already paid Bradley Chubb. They went out and got Calais Campbell. They had to let go of went to the Raiders, Christian Wilkins. Like they're trying to piece it together, but is that wall around Tua that a quarterback that already, to Solana's point, had all these injuries, does he have a wall in front of him? Because Kirk Cousins can't run. Kirk Cousins, I put my wife back there and she could scramble work better. I'm sorry. That's what I'm saying. Like,
I'm not arguing that they need a better offensive line, needed to protect him more to prevent this from happening. Although I will tell you, his concussion was not a result of someone getting through the line. The concussion was him not sliding. I mean, it really wasn't a result of him taking a blindside hit. I would give that more credence. I think Chris Grier, they sit down with Mike McDaniel. They say, listen, the weakest part of our offense might be the O-line. And Mike McDaniel might say, that's okay. We get rid of the ball quick. Don't worry about, get me my receivers, get me my running backs, get me my quarterback. Like, this wasn't made without Mike McDaniel having involvement in the decisions. So if they're saying, hey, if we spend money here, we're not going to be able to spend it here. Hopefully we get another 10 games out of Teron Armstead. We'll worry about it next season. And maybe he says, yeah, spend it there. I want Jalen Waddle happy. I want Tyreek happy. I want Jalen Ramsey happy. I want Tua happy. Like, that's where I want the money spent. I'm going to make sure we're getting the ball out quickly. So that's the least of our worries. Like, again, I don't think any of this stuff is made without him weighing in on it. No. And again, the offensive line, like, you can't blame them for this head injury. Like, that was a scramble.
It's true. But they also,
unless he was scrambling because he didn't have any time. I don't recall the play well enough.
No, he made the right move.
Do you remember? You remember the first 2 quarters when he was throwing interceptions just up in the air and guys were running underneath him?
But maybe that's because Grant Dubose is running the route instead of Tyreek Hill.
Remember that second interception where he couldn't even get it out of bounds because the guy was dumping on his head?
Yeah, it just seems like coming into the season, there were holes on this team. The defensive ones were obvious, but most of that has to do with injury. And that's fine, right? Like, that's going to happen. It is what it is. But offensively, everybody outside of that organization knew this offensive line was not up to the standards that this team needed it to be. And Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel sort of mocked that notion, truthfully, because their comments were, hey, Chris Grier said it. Me and Mike were talking about it, and we think it's funny that the entire media and the fan base are so worried about the offensive line. We think they're much improved. Like, they kind of shut that down as in, don't worry, it's going to be great. And it clearly wasn't. And the lack of depth there is concerning to me because they have not invested in it. They've put zero resources into it over the years, despite losing arguably the 2 best players on that line over the past couple of years.
This is top of mind because it happened last night. The Eagles have one of the best lines in football. They said that they average 337 across the board. Like, they have one of the best offensive lines in football. They have a high-paid quarterback. They have Saquon Barkley. They have A.J. Brown, and they have Devonta Smith. They have high-paid weapons as well. They have high-paid corner in Darius Slay. They have Charles Gardner from Florida who made the big play late in the game. Bijan Robinson ate them up because they skimped on the linebackers. They let Devin White and all those guys go. They skimped on their linebackers. You have to make that trade-off. Did the Dolphins make that trade-off in the line? And is that we're now watching the problem of making the trade-off in the line?
You say, point, every team you can't pay
team has holes.
Every position, every room. Like, you've got to make choices.
And was that choice bad when we had the number 1 scoring offense, number 3 yards per game offense last year with damn near the same line?
Like, not to me. I'm being honest. Like, if you said to me, hey, offensive line, or we can lock up Jalen Waddle and Tyreek and Tua long term, and you'll have Achane back there, and we're going to take Jalen Wright in the draft, and yeah, I'd have been okay with it.
Oh, Hawk, we let Jalen Waddle walk and go get 2 big guards from Wisconsin.
Right. Not sexy for me.
These are conversations.
And by the way, we've drafted offensive linemen before. I mean, it's no guarantee that you're going to hit because we've drafted them before, and plenty of times they don't work out.
Yep.
but that's on the GM.
No doubt. No doubt.
Right. I'm just saying, like, you shouldn't.
I'm just
be
saying it's not a
deflated.
slam dunk to say, hey, let Jalen Ramsey walk or let Tyreek Hill play angry this entire season, or don't put Tua under contract and we're going to invest in the offensive line, and then that doesn't work out, and then you lose everybody.
Yeah, I'm with you, but just go look at the Super Bowl winners, the list of Super Bowl winners over the past 10 years, however long you want to go. And I realize, like, part of this is skewed because Tom Brady and the New England Patriots.
I was going to say, you're going to see Tom Brady and you're going to see Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm not necessarily certain this is a fair.
We've read this book.
No, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's not fair because it is those two guys. But man, what did the Patriots prioritize? Keeping Tom Brady healthy as long as possible. They paid the fat guys up front, man. They did. And I think last year was kind of an outlier because Patrick Mahomes is just so damn good. But their offensive lines have been really good in front of Patrick Mahomes too. They had no weapons last year, the Chiefs. Zero. What'd they do? They paid the fat guys. Why don't the Dolphins do that? Ever in my life, 24 years, never had a good offensive line. Not once.
Oh, wait.
I mean, it wasn't horrible last season. It wasn't.
You better not
disrespect. To Crowder's point of saying where you look at last season, you go, you know what? It went okay. Like, it wasn't a glaring problem last season, I don't think.
Austin Jackson, who was Austin Jackson, Robert Hunt, Connor Williams, Teron Armstead for 10 games. We knew what he's going to do. And then Liam Eichenberg, he'll fit in there somewhere.
He lost 50% of that.
It was still that game plan was the number one scoring offense. And I mean, number one yards, number 3 scoring offense in the NFL.
I know we're just getting back to the argument we had all offseason where I look at those numbers and I say, okay, it was fun while it was fun. But when you needed that offense to produce, you needed Tua to extend plays against good teams when they were able to stop your options that led you to 70 points against Denver. What did it give you? A 1-6 record against those teams. We talked about in the offseason, the Dolphins' offensive line numbers last year, their stats on the surface were great. But when Tua had to hold the ball longer than 2.5 seconds, Crowder, in December and January against good teams, that happens because they've been scouting you and they know where you're going. They know what your first option is. His averages were bad. And the Dolphins, in the final 2 months of the season, their offense was bad. It wasn't good. And to me, that needed to be addressed this offseason, and they failed to do that.
What's Jake Long doing?
I was going to say, I can call Vernon Carey, because now, Solana, you done ran me hot talking about my fat guys. I still got Rex Hadnot's number in my phone. Jake Grove.
All right, wrap up these headlines because we have a lot to get through this hour. So let's wrap up these headlines.
Richie Incognito.
Give him a helmet. He's down.
No, you know he'd suit it up next week.
Yeah, so if you're joining us during that debate or whatever conversation, Tua Tagovailoa, according to several reports, has been placed on the injured reserve list, meaning he will miss at least 4 games. The Marlins, they do host the LA Dodgers over the next 3 days. Tonight, first pitch will be at 6:40 p.m. Shohei Ohtani on the brink of a 50-50 season. So 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases. Potentially could break it here in South Florida. Tomorrow, Inter Miami, they're in action as well. They won over the weekend. Inter Miami tomorrow night. You can listen to it right here on this station at Atlanta United, 7:30 p.m. Your weather from the Demesman and Dover Law Firm. Call them 866-954-MORE. YourAccidentAttorneys.com. Free consultations 24/7. 80 degrees, hot and humid. That's your weather.
I like this hypothetical from a texter. What if Skyler goes 4-0? Do you trade Tua because you have the quarterback of the future?
He backs up Skyler.
He ain't going 4-0. Spoiler alert. I talk about Atlantic Men's Clinic on this show, and please know I really am a believer. I was there today. I go to the Boca location on Tuesdays for my shot,